Okay, good afternoon, evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's 5:30 on the dot, so just to be respectful of everyone's after work hours, I thought we would just dive right in. Thank you. Welcome to the Calisphal Bypass Foys Lake Road Interchange virtual open house. Thank you for choosing to spend some of your time on this Thursday evening with us. We appreciate it. I'm sure folks will hop in as we get going here, but like I said, I figured I would just kick us off. For those of you I have not yet directly interacted with or were not present at the September open house, my name is Becca. I am with Big Sky Public Relations, and I work on behalf of the Montana Department of Transportation. I am the communications manager and am available to help however I can throughout the duration of the Foys Lake Road Interchange project. So you'll see my name pop up in relation to this project, and I'm happy to answer questions along the way. MDT has hired us and myself to help in quite a few different ways, including providing the public updates during construction, creating press releases for the media, hosting public meetings like this one, of course. And normally we certainly would hope to have hosted this in person, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have decided to host a virtual meeting. So thank you in advance for bearing with us through any technical difficulties we hopefully do not experience. We have folks, of course, with us this evening from MDT representing the Foys Lake Road Interchange project. We have Beth Kappas, Bob Vosen, and Drew Fetters of MDT. These folks are your go-to resources for all things Calisphal bypass and will be overseeing this Foys Lake Road project specifically. If you all from MDT wouldn't mind saying hi and introducing yourself. Beth, if you want to go ahead and kick us off, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks, Becca. This is Beth Kappas, and I work out of the Calisphal MDT office, and I've been helping to manage this project through the pre-construction phase. So I guess, Bob, did you want to go next?
You bet. Thanks, Beth. My name is Bob Vosen. I'm the district administrator for the District 1 of Montana Department of Transportation, Western Montana. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I want to echo Becca's comment. I wish we could be doing this in person. I'm definitely an in-person type of guy. I wish I could meet everybody and be able to have the work on developing some relationships face-to-face rather than through this Zoom meeting. But this is a great opportunity for us to share information with you. I really encourage everyone to ask questions, get the answers you're looking for, and then share with friends and family going forward as we partake in this exciting project. I know I'm definitely looking forward to it. My family lives on the south side of Calisphal, and so this is a route that we use on a personal basis. My family literally drives it many times every day. So along with all the other residents of the Flathead Valley, this is an exciting project I'm glad that we're getting started with. So with that, I'm going to toss it over to our project manager, Drew.
Yes, I'm Drew Fetters. I live out in Columbia Falls. I am based out of the Calisphal MDT office, and I will be the project manager on the project. Thank you all for attending tonight.
Thank you. And then next, we also have representatives from our engineering and construction teams. LHC Construction and KLJ Engineering representatives are in attendance as well. LHC is the contractor construction team who will be constructing the project. They're here to help explain and answer any questions in more detail and help share our plans with you all this evening. KLJ and LHC folks, if you'd like to share who's on the line. Don, if you want to go ahead and start, that would be great.
Thank you, Becca. Don Serta, I'm the design manager with KLJ on behalf of the LHC design and build team. And I do appreciate the fact that you take the interest in and joined us here this evening to learn more about the project. And hopefully November this year, you'll be driving on a brand new interchange out there. Jim, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Don. Good evening, everybody. And also on behalf of LHC, I'd like to thank everybody for participating in this meeting and hope that y'all get something out of it. I'm Jim Mitchell. I'm part of the LHC construction management team. And as Becca said, we're the contractor that'll be performing the work. And for those of you not familiar with us, we're a local contractor, and we also constructed the 4-lane northern portion of the bypass. So we're really excited to continue to bring these important improvements to the community, and I hope I can answer any questions you have this evening. So again, thank you. And with that,
Thanks, Jim. Thank you, Jim and Don, for your introductions. That was great. And again, my name is Becca. If those of you have just hopped on the call, I am the communications manager for the Foys Lake Road project, and here to answer questions after the open house if you think of anything, and of course throughout the entire construction process. My contact information will be at the end of the presentation, so if you're looking to get in touch, we will certainly have that up in a few minutes here. And again, we're using Zoom to conduct this meeting. This meeting is being recorded just as an FYI, as we're placing it on the project webpage so that it's viewable for revisiting after the fact, and folks that aren't able to make it can visit that on the webpage as well. Like I said, we certainly don't foresee virtual meetings replacing in-person open houses, but we do want to take, necessary precautions at the moment. So thanks again for bearing with us and for your time. In addition to that, I will note that since we cannot host this meeting in person, we will be using the Q&A system to address your questions as comprehensively as possible at the end of this brief presentation. You'll notice a Q&A button on your Zoom panel of your screen. It should probably be at the bottom, I believe, if not the top. And you're welcome at any point during the presentation to type in a question or a comment or at the end. And the project team is going to address that at the end of the presentation. If for some reason there is not time to answer all questions received within our allotted time here, I can certainly reach out to you via the email you provided in your registration for this event, and I can help address that question. So that's our plan moving forward, and I will debrief on this again once we get to the end of the presentation so folks know what is next with the Q&A. So thank you. I will now pass it to Bob to provide a brief review of the design plan for the project. Bob, go ahead.
Thanks, Becca. So yeah, to start with, we just want to do a real brief recap of our design plan for the project we're calling the Foys Lake project, or Calisphal Bypass Foys Lake Road. For those of you that were unable to attend the open house last fall, the bypass, or US 93 alternate, will carry high-speed regional traffic over Foys Lake Road to reduce traffic congestion currently in the area. There will be an interstate-style ramps constructed, very similar to what you see at the US 2 interchange location, to facilitate northbound and southbound bypass access to and from the Foys Lake Road. Foys Lake Road is going to have 2 teardrop-shaped roundabouts constructed, where the ramps, the off and on ramps, intersect with Foys Lake / Meridian Road. This design is very similar. Some of you may be familiar with the Van Buren interchange on the east side of Missoula, with I-90 and Van Buren, or the Rattlesnake. Very similar features in many ways, with the exception that the traffic counts in Missoula are actually about double what the traffic counts are that we're seeing on Foys Lake. The interstate traffic is half again as much as what we see on Calisphal Bypass. So we've had that roundabout configuration for an interchange constructed for several years in Missoula, and we found that it is extremely functional. It's greatly reduced congestion. Another component to this is that this project is not just the interchange. It's also going to extend south to just north of the Airport Road roundabout, and we will be building 4-lane roadway, expanding the existing 2-lane roads, 2 lanes to 4 lanes, and as well we'll be maintaining the shared use path connections on that well-used trail system. So again, I just want to stress that the Calisphal bypass traffic is going to move unimpeded over Foys Lake Road. Excuse me. By removing the higher volume bypass traffic from the roundabouts, the two roundabouts are only going to be carrying the local traffic or residential traffic, so they will be able to function very efficiently. The new facility will be designed for semis and large vehicles to make all movements, including the roundabouts when necessary. Over 90% of truck traffic will be staying on the bypass, but that 10% portion that does need to utilize the Foys Lake Road will find that the ramps or the roundabouts and ramps have been designed to accommodate all size vehicles. In addition, the regional trail and sidewalks going to direct pedestrians and bicyclists to cross at the roundabouts. This is a safer crossing for pedestrians and cyclists, as they'll be crossing one lane at a time with a refuge area. And as part of this project, the picture you're seeing right now, Valley View Drive, is a road that's kind of connecting between the two trees. If you can see it down in the bottom of the screen, that Valley View Drive presents an interesting challenge. It essentially makes a 5-legged intersection on the west side of the bypass if we were to do a traditional signalized intersection. And most of the signalized intersections that you're probably familiar with that have 5 legs are pretty universally known as malfunction junction, regardless of the city they're in. Missoula has one, Helena has a couple of them. A 5-legged intersection just really is a struggle to get the timing and signalization to work right without causing some severe traffic congestion. So with that, I'm going to turn this presentation back to Beth so she can go into a little greater detail on the design review.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. So as discussed, the new Foys Lake Road interchange will utilize roundabouts. So we wanted to just give a little bit more information on why this type of intersection control was selected for the new facility. So shown here on the left side of the screen is a rendering that depicts what the new interchange facility is going to look like. I personally think this image is super helpful for picturing how things are going to work. So kind of keep that in mind. So first off, when navigating roundabouts, drivers slow to between 15 and 20 miles an hour, and they're all required to travel in that same counterclockwise direction. So this type of movement really reduces the likelihood and severity of an accident. So roundabouts are highly effective in reducing crashes at intersections, and that obviously really supports MDT's primary goal of providing safer roadways for this particular project area and, on a broader perspective across our whole state. I think it's also important to remember that for the Foys Lake Road project specifically, roundabout intersections are really only a part of the interchange features and operations. So we project that 20 years from now, in 2041, only about 50% of the current intersection traffic will be using the single lane roundabouts that are going to be constructed on Foys Lake Road. So ultimately, these roundabouts are seeing a lot less volume, and really a well-functioning roundabout allows traffic to keep moving, which results in less delays and increased efficiencies when compared to traditional signalized intersections at ramp terminals like this. So, as a part of the design process, the project team has analyzed a number of different interchange configurations, and the selected concept that we're looking at here really provides the least amount of delays and keeps traffic moving. So it's got some serious advantages over a stoplight type intersection. And it also provides, the most capacity for future traffic as well. So again, these efficiencies are really just kind of in addition to the safety aspects that we're benefiting from with this design concept. Also keep in mind that over 90% of the trucks passing through the existing intersection, as Bob said, will not be navigating the new roundabout. So that bypass north-south traffic will be able to travel unimpeded over Foys Lake Road via that new overpass bridge that's going to be constructed. So if you look at the image here, you can see that semi-truck just starting onto the bridge. And again, they're in a free flow traffic pattern onto their next destination. So again, this facility is going to be a interstate style full interchange similar to what you see on the north half of the bypass. And then the small number of trucks that will use Foys Lake Road should notice that the new roundabout truck aprons will be adequately designed to prevent load shifting when the trucks are navigating at the appropriate speed. And Bob kind of touched on that as well. In summary, I think we again just really want to emphasize the safety of this intersection type. Slower speeds and one-directional traffic flow means fewer crossing conflicts for vehicles and pedestrians, and vehicles and pedestrians also have more time to react to one another. So kind of an interesting statistic, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety found that on average, roundabouts reduce fatalities by 90%. Serious injury crashes are reduced by 75%, and all kinds of crashes are reduced by 37%. So definitely significant information there on the safety of this type of facility. And to bring things a little bit closer to home, I think roundabouts are also proven to reduce fatalities and serious injuries at higher speed rural intersections that are really similar to this one. So with that brief overview of some of the design features associated with this project, I'll turn it over to Jim to talk a little bit more about what to expect during construction.
Yeah, thanks, Beth. So our construction timeline, we're going to get started next week. Weather depending, it'll probably be a pretty slow start. We'll start getting equipment mobilized and our traffic control set up, and be looking for a window to really have some weather ahead of us before we start tearing things up too bad. But we will be seeing activity next week. And the roadway is planned to be opened in November. That's our schedule for substantial completion. There will be a small amount of work to be done in 2022, the spring, summer of 2022. That'll really just be the chip sealing and pavement marking and maybe seeding and a little bit of cleanup. So majority of the project, as far as the traffic is concerned, will be done before snow flies this year. So one of the big things people are always concerned about is the impacts. How's it going to impact me? Well, as with any construction project, we're going to have some delays, and we're going to have some interruptions in traffic. We're going to try and minimize those, but I think if everybody that uses this intersection as a commute, if you plan on 15 extra minutes for your commute, you won't have any problems. We're going to be real proactive in dust control. There will be a little bit more noise in the area from the construction, but all our work will primarily be done during daylight hours. Any night activity will be scheduled well in advance. Notifications will be made. The traffic's going to consist of single lane closures during work hours, and that's mainly going to be on Foys Lake Road. Our traffic control folks will be using flagging operations and temporary signals if necessary to facilitate traffic. We may see occasional weekend closures. Again, those will be scheduled, and notifications will come out well in advance. And those are mainly for operations that really require, for safety reasons, for closure. The one thing that we're thinking of now is when we set the bridge beams, where we have two cranes out there with these 120-foot long beams. We don't want traffic going under them, so we will have to do a closure. But we're going to do that at low volume times, weekends, nights. So the road will always be open during peak traffic hours and during the weekdays. Just briefly, the phases of construction. What we're going to concentrate on first is widening the bypass south of the intersection and building the northbound ramps, which are the ramps on the east side, the Meridian side. And once those are constructed and the easterly roundabout, we're going to shift traffic off of the mainline bypass onto those ramps. That gives us the ability to build that overpass bridge and the embankments leading up to it without traffic. So once that is completed, then we'll shift traffic back. We'll finish construction of the west roundabouts and Foys Lake Road and be done by November. So just a quick reminder, there's no need to memorize this information. Becca and Big Sky Public Relations will be providing weekly updates via the email chains, and it'll also be on our project webpage beginning in March. All of these details will be included at the end of the presentation. And in addition, and this is something we did on the north portion of the bypass, and they were really effective, was we're going to be holding weekly public meetings on Thursday, and that's going to begin on March 4th. So we really want to invite everyone to attend, and these meetings will be 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. and we're going to do those also via Zoom. So members of the project team, including myself, will be present to answer any questions as construction progresses, and Becca will put up more information on that at the end of this presentation. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Bob, talk about budget and maintenance.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, this project was awarded to the design build team of LHC and KLJ Design for $14.7 million. Fortunately, MDT was able to partner. The city of Calisphal did the legwork to obtain a build grant and secured funds of $12.7 million through this build grant process to bring for the project. So the remainder of the project, the remaining $2 million, is being funded through a combination of Montana Department of Transportation's federal and state highway funding sources. And maintenance of the project will be similar to the rest of the bypass. It will be maintained by MDT and their forces. The use of the roundabouts does eliminate some of the annual and long-term maintenance that we see with the signalized system. It does present some additional challenges. One additional benefit that we do see with the roundabout system is that when the power goes out, the roundabout still is fully functional. Moving on to other projects in the area, just to, we've got a lot of projects in the Calisphal area occurring in the coming years. So we wanted to provide a quick background on some other projects to be aware of. If you have any questions about these, again, feel free to contact Becca. And note that this is just a brief overview to bring awareness to this project. There's going to be another open house coming up in the future specific to the Dern and Spring Creek project, which you can see here in the coming months. At the end of this presentation, the project team will be answering questions specific to Foys Lake Road, though not the Dern Spring Creek project. We haven't let the contract for that yet. We don't have the team assembled yet. So it's a different group. So for that, I just encourage you to keep on the lookout for the Dern and Spring Creek info to come. Generally, though, construction will begin in the early summer of 21. MDT is committed to creating a solution that reduces or eliminates serious injuries and deaths at this intersection, which have been a regular occurrence. That intersection is well recognized as having a lot of serious crashes and a high crash trend. The roundabout was chosen at this intersection because they're highly effective at reducing crashes, as shown in the statistics that Beth provided earlier. And we do have a lot more detailed information on the Dern and Spring Creek webpage about why the roundabout was selected and the research that we've done and how they promote safety, if anybody wants to look into that project a little bit more. Another project in the Calisphal area is the Calisphal Concrete Rehab project. This project began in July of last year and is now complete. Crews are going to finish up the striping this summer. It was a process of completing the preservation practices of the concrete pavement, including concrete panel replacement, panel demo sawing. There was joint sealing, upgraded signage, and addition of new pavement markings and adjusting manholes. The project took place in downtown Calisphal on 1.6 miles of Main Street or Highway 93 from 6th Street north to Washington Street, and on Idaho from US 2 from Meridian Road to 7th Avenue East North. So preserving roads like this helps us to keep them from falling into serious disrepair, and it is really the budget conscious thing to do, keeping our good roads good. So if we can do minor pavement preservation work such as this, it allows us to greatly reduce the amount of major road construction in the area and saves a tremendous amount of taxpayer dollars. The last thing that I want to touch on briefly before I turn this back to Beth is Vision Zero. And Vision Zero is a multi-pronged initiative with the ultimate goal of eliminating deaths and injuries on Montana's highways. Without good roads, bridges, and intersections, traveling safely and efficiently through Montana would be very difficult. More deaths and injuries would likely occur, and it would be harder to do business, visit family, or organize public events such as track meets and concerts. Having good roads, bridges, and other transportation systems and educating drivers how to use them is critical to building strong communities in a strong state. And as one of the Flathead Valley's most traveled roadways, the Calisphal bypass projects must align with our Vision Zero goal, and we strongly believe the design presented to you today will allow us to best achieve our goal. So with that, Beth, I'm going to turn it back to you to cover some more information about public involvement and participation.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. So, as always, MDT certainly welcomes any questions and comments on our projects. And just to keep in mind, MDT is currently working on an accelerated schedule to complete this project in line with those specialized build grant funds and timeline restrictions that Bob kind of touched on. Again, we've had this special funding become available for this project, and that funding has a narrow window for which we can use it. So that's why this project has really come to fruition so quickly. And we certainly want to take advantage of those special funds before they expire. So definitely an important element of the project. So again, thank you guys all for being here. We certainly appreciate your time and willingness to be involved. So we'll go ahead and close things out with Becca, who will provide more contact information on how to stay in touch with the project team. And then we'd love to hear your questions for the remainder of our time.
Yes, perfect. Thanks, Beth. Just like Beth said, we have concluded the presentation portion of the evening, and we'll move into a Q&A. Before we do that officially, I just want to make note of the slide we're on. Of course, my email is listed right here, becca@bigskypublicrelations.com. If you think of a question after this, feel free to email me. If you think of a question in a few months during construction, feel free to email me. Anytime, feel free to email me and I can connect you to the right resources, right person. I am a resource to you, so please feel free to use me for that purpose. In addition, we have a project hotline if you're more comfortable speaking to someone on the phone. That number is listed right there, and someone's available to chat during business hours. Again, feel free to leave feedback or questions on the hotline as well. And then lastly, the Calisphal bypass webpage is listed right there. That's the link to the webpage. There you will find the recording of this presentation, weekly updates, resources. That's going to be really the central hub for all things to keep updated on the project. And then as mentioned briefly earlier, I want to touch on this again. We will be holding weekly public meetings on Thursdays beginning March 4th, which is a week from today. Everyone is welcome to attend. These meetings will be held every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And members of the project team and myself will be present each week to answer questions as construction progresses. Just more of a one-on-one, conversation with the project team to make sure that folks that have urgent questions that week or feedback are able to chat with someone on a pretty regular basis. You can find the link to those meetings on this same webpage here. It's actually up already right now. There's a Zoom link and dial-in information that each week you don't need to register. You just have to go ahead and click that link to join the meeting at 10 a.m. on Thursday, each Thursday. And it's going to live there until the foreseeable future. So thank you. Let me know if you have questions on that. With that little outro, we'll stay on this page so folks can write down this information if needed. We will go ahead and transition into our question and answer session. My wonderful colleague Katie is manning the Q&A chat box. So I see there's a couple questions in there already, but if you think of another question for the project team, please feel free to type that in. We have lots of time to answer questions, and the project team is here to do so and to be a resource to you folks that are here. So we'll start there. Katie, if you have a question you could read off, we can get going. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Becca. Okay, so our first question is from Kip, and he asks, will the Lone Pine Tunnel that goes under the bypass south of Foys Lake Roundabout remain open during construction?
Thanks, Katie. Hi, Kip. Nice to hear from you. I will direct that to Bob. Would that be a question you're able to address?
I'm actually going to just kick that right over to Jim and see what the construction company's plan is for how they're going to navigate that and what the final design will look like.
No problem. Thanks, Bob. And great question, Kip. Kip's one of my cycling buddies. So yeah, we're definitely going to keep the Lone Pine Tunnel open during construction. In fact, with the limited sidewalks that are on the existing bypass where they really don't connect into the city and they don't connect to the west, we're actually going to close the current access for pedestrians at the roundabout and going to allow residents to, or pedestrians to also utilize that tunnel. So the tunnel and the bike path as a whole will be maintained throughout construction. There may be some short periods where we have an alternate surface on it if we have to cross or do construction with the bike path, but we'll have the appropriate traffic control devices for the cyclists and maintain it throughout.
Hey, Jim, and one thing that I forgot to mention, I think, in my part of the presentation was that as part of this project, we are going to work to improve some access to that trail system by the addition of a parking area on the west side of the bypass, just south of where the tunnel comes out, where the path connects to Valley View Drive, correct?
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Bob. Right at the second 90-degree corner, where a lot of cars park now kind of on Valley View Drive, utilizing the Lone Pine trail system and the bike path and the tunnel. We're going to build a little parking area there off of Valley View. There's about 10 spaces that it's going to include, including a handicap, and that will connect on to the bike path just right at the northwest end of the path as it comes out of the tunnel.
Thank you, Jim and Bob. That was a great question, Kip. Thanks for putting that into the Q&A box. Katie, is there another question in line for us to answer?
Thanks, Becca. Yep, there's a couple from Dwayne, so I'll just go one at a time. First, he asked if there are changes at the Airport Road roundabout and how will 4 lanes then pinch down to 2?
Perfect. Thanks, Dwayne. I will pass either Bob or Jim. Are you able to address that question?
This is Jim with LHC. This project actually ends just north of the Airport Road roundabout. So this project will transition down from 4 lanes to 2 lanes before you enter the Airport Road roundabout. And maybe Bob can discuss this, but that remaining southern section from the north end of the airport roundabout to Highway 93 at the south end is a different project that's currently under design. So that eventually will be 4-lane all the way to 93, but maybe Bob can give a brief description of that project and potential timing.
Yeah, Jim, you're right. That is the next project in the series of projects as we navigate get our way south to Highway 93 and continue the development of a 4-lane full interstate style. So the long range plan is to have the Airport Road roundabout removed and an interchange put in at that location. The design is underway right now. Again, some other challenging things in that area, but one of them being funding. So it's a project we've identified we're working on, and there'll be more information to come about that in the coming years.
Thank you, Bob and Jim. Katie, was there another question from Dwayne?
Yes, thanks, Becca. So I think we answered it, but maybe just to confirm, Dwayne asks, what is the timeline for the second set of lanes before Foys and Airport Road?
Perfect, the timeline. Jim, are you able to address that question by chance?
Well, if I understand it, the additional second set of lanes on this project, which again is from the basically the US 2 overpass to just north of the Airport Road, those will all be constructed this year. That'll be started on, as I mentioned in my presentation, probably one of the first things we start on is some of the material that we take out of the roundabout area will go down to the south end, and there's a big cut on the south end that we'll start working on. So, and fortunately, that second set of lanes moves to the west. So I guess this also kind of answers your next question, Dwayne, is the traffic delays for that work will be pretty minimal because we can maintain traffic on the existing pavement while we build that second set of lanes on the west side of the existing bypass. So there'll be trucks coming in and out, but delays should be pretty minimal for that additional 2 lanes. Great, I'm glad that makes sense. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Dwayne. Katie, I see there's another question in the chat box.
Yes, thanks, Becca. This is from our friend Joe. Joe says, thanks for the great presentation and very helpful and informative. He then asks if we could discuss the cumulative impact of all of the area projects. So he names the bypass, Stern and Spring Creek, the upcoming Hungry Horse to Nyack Flats project, Summers and Lakeside, Many Glacier, etc. His question then is, how do we communicate and support with these excellent improvement opportunities?
Thanks, Joe. That is a fantastic question. I will pass that off to Bob to start, and if anyone else has thoughts, feel free to jump in.
Good question, Joe. Thanks for joining us tonight. Really wish we were able to do this in person. It's been a long time since we've been able to catch up together. We do have, as you note here in your question, just a tremendous amount of work in the greater Flathead Valley. You know, the cumulative impact on all the area projects, the Hungry Horse, Nyack's Flat, those construction projects are being, we are being supported by Big Sky Public Relations on those projects as well. So they will be a great source of contact. I don't know that they're going to have a lot of cumulative impact on the area, being that they are quite a ways separated from the other projects. They're going to be highly impactful to that area. But we've got a public outreach component to them, and we've started that. In fact, I think in the next few weeks, there's going to be more outreach to the business communities and what we can do to make sure that people are aware of the challenges those projects are going to bring. Obviously, the bypass and the Durham Spring Creek project are right in the same general area, affecting a lot of the same traffic. And that was kind of the results of funding, and when funding came together. So it will be, there will be some challenging times, but I think that as far as this project goes, Jim and the LHC team have done a great job of putting together a solid traffic control plan. So there will be some maybe some additional challenges, but I don't think they're going to be tremendous. And again, not necessarily tying into the other projects. The Summers Lakeside project that Joe is referring to is a paving overlay type project. Basically, it runs from south of Summers, south through Lakeside. That project's going to be hopefully the bulk of that work will be done before the really heavy 4th of July traffic shows up. And if it isn't, we're going to suspend time and kind of step back away from it, because working through that corridor is really where a construction company is going to struggle mightily due to the tremendous amount of tourist traffic on the west shore of Flathead Lake in the July and August months. And as far as Many Glacier, that's outside of my district, and so I'm not sure what's happening up there, Joe. But all the projects that you have, we're working together. We recognize the challenge. The Big Sky team is going to be working to come up with a way to communicate kind of a one-stop shop. So just the best thing I can say is to keep your eye on media, and we'll be looking at our webpage, project webpage, for more information to come. I do know that the Summers Lakeside project, the public relations team on that is a different firm. RBCI has that contract, but also RBCI and Big Sky Public Relations are both two great firms to work with, and they also work very well together. So I'm sure that they will be sharing information back and forth throughout the summer. So like I say, the best thing is kind of keep alert, sign up for the text alerts that we'll have available for all the different projects that you're concerned about. Attend public meetings that we'll have. A lot of these projects will have weekly meetings, and when in doubt, shoot an email out and ask your questions.
Thank you, Bob. That was great. And yes, that's exactly correct on our end. It's absolutely on our radar to make sure we're communicating as thoroughly as possible, understanding that there's so much happening in the area. So definitely that is in the works. Thanks for communicating that, Bob. That was great. Okay, Katie, is there another question for us in the chat box?
There sure is. Marty asks a really good question about Ashley Creek. So he asks if there are any plans to do a walking path and footbridge over Ashley Creek, to connect with the other side sidewalks.
Great question. I think that might be a question for Jim. Are you able to address that?
Yeah, I'm not sure where on Ashley Creek.
Hey, Jim, I'm going to guess that Marty's referring to Ashley Creek as it crosses under the transition from Foys Lake Road to Meridian Road, which is that unfortunately has been recognized as a need, but it's outside the project limits of this project. And with our very tight funding restrictions based on the build grant and the intent of the project, we're not going to be able to address that at this point. And that's my best guess of where he's talking about, looking to connect to sidewalks.
Yeah, no, that makes sense now that no on Meridian Road. Yeah, and that's it. And that's the one I'm referring to is on Meridian Road to Ashley Creek. Our project ends just west of the Ashley Creek crossing where the sidewalk ends now. But one thing, Marty, I would like to, if Becca could pull up the slide that shows the overview of the one more.
I'm working on it. Sorry, I'm having some technical problems. There we go. Which one are you looking for, Jim?
Keep going back. The picture that shows the overpass.
Oh. So.
Yeah, right there. As you can see where the bike path is now, it's going to make full connections onto all of the sidewalks on both sides of Foys that go under the underpass and continue on towards the Foys Lakeside. And those will be available for any, future expansion of that system west as well as east towards 7th Street. but right now you can see the limits of what we're constructing in this picture.
And I just want to chime in right now. I know it looks a little short-sighted of us. The challenge is there's a segment of that road that is not under the jurisdiction of MDT. It's actually a county road. That is Foys Lake till it gets to the Goofy T intersection right near the top of the screen. At that point, it becomes city jurisdiction. Our roadway ends at generally where this project ends, maybe I can't tell for sure, Jim, if you show your design going all the way to our limits, or if we may go a little bit further. But the location of to go over top of Ashley Creek up there, that's actually a county roadway. So there's some challenges with finding funding as part of a county road that's not on the secondary system and what that needs to look like. So it's something that all the city, MDT, and the county are aware of. It's just a challenge. We have to figure out how to navigate and figure out what funding possibilities could look like to figure out a way to make that final connection point.
Thank you, Bob and Jim, and thanks for that great question. Katie, are there other questions in the Q&A box for us?
Thanks, Becca. We don't have any additional questions, but just a reminder that if folks do have those, there's that Q&A section at the bottom. Looks like 2 speech bubbles that you're welcome to type your chat into.
Perfect. Thank you, Katie. Just repeating what Katie has mentioned, if you have any questions or comments or feedback, you're more than welcome to put them in the Q&A chat box. The project team is certainly here and set aside this time to address anything that might come to mind. And if not, you're welcome to take off as the presentation itself has concluded. And with that, I see we have another question. Katie, would you mind reading that out for us, please?
Yeah, you bet. So Joe followed up and asked what the status is of the final section of the very south end of the bypass.
Thanks, Joe. I believe that would be a Bob question. Bob, would you mind addressing that, please?
It works way better if I can find the unmute button. Yeah, great question, Joe. The last segment, I assume you're referring to the stretch from the end of this project south to Calisphal bypass through the airport road and what is now called the 4-lane roundabout that is at the south end. The name just went blank on me. I apologize.
Base Camp Drive.
Thank you, Base Camp Drive roundabout. So we've actually are considering splitting that into 2 projects and addressing the 4-lane configuration through the airport road roundabout to tie into the 4 lanes coming out of the Base Camp Drive roundabout at this point. And that project is identified as a project of need, but it's outside of our funding window. We are working on the design currently. My goal, Joe, is to get that project designed and have it ready to when we can find a place in the funding puzzle that we can fit that in. But at this point, we don't have a time frame.
Thank you, Bob. Great question, Joe. Thank you. Looks like we have another question. Katie, if you wouldn't mind reading that one off as well.
Yeah, you bet. Kip followed up and asked if LHC is the contractor for Dern. And I believe, Bob, you had mentioned that hasn't been let yet, but maybe you could explain that process a little bit more.
Yep, you're right, Katie. That project, I believe if it isn't out being advertised right now, it will be soon. Letting for that project is in, I believe, in March. But so we have not gone through the process of opening the bids and selecting a contractor yet on that. So it's still up, could be anybody. I'm sure LHC is interested in it, but a contractor hasn't been selected yet.
Just to add on to that, I think you can count on us being the contractor, Kip. We're very interested, and that's our goal.
Thanks, Bob and Jim. Good question, Kip. I see we have another.
Nice, huh, Jim?
I see we have another, oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. Hard to, again, not being in person, it's easy to chat over each other with Zoom. Apologies. I see we have another question. Katie, if you want to go ahead and read that one.
You bet. And Becca, it's a great question for you. So Laura is asking, how do we sign up for text alerts?
That is a great question, Laura. And I should have included it on this page. I apologize. If you text Foys Lake, F-O-Y-S-L-A-K-E to 41411, that's 41411, you can sign up for text updates. And if I just said that too quickly, it's also, that information is also listed on this Calisphal bypass webpage. If you scroll down a little bit on the right side of the right banner on the right side has that information on how to sign up for text updates. I think personally they're super useful, so highly recommend that be your avenue to stay up to date if you're interested. Thanks for that question.
I might also just added that to the chat as well. And one point to clarify, a lot of the time we'll get a call on the hotline of folks asking us to sign them up for text updates, and we cannot do that just for privacy. So you will have to, from your device, text that Foys Lake to 41411.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. Thanks for adding that in the chat, Katie. That's perfect. Thanks for great questions, everyone. I don't see any in the chat box currently, but as mentioned, we will sit tight and see if others roll in. Feel free to type away questions or comments, and the team is here to answer.
Thanks for the thanks, Joe. We're looking forward to getting construction started next week.
Thanks, Joe. Bearing no other questions, we'll hang out for another 3, 4, 5 minutes here and see if others roll in. Again, the project team is certainly here to answer anything that may come up. And if you think of anything tonight after the meeting or tomorrow or anytime, feel free to contact me via the email address on the screen. Again, we'll sit tight for a few more minutes here to see if other questions come up. Okay, hearing none, I am not seeing anything else in the Q&A chat box. Again, if anything comes up, please do not hesitate to reach out. We're happy to answer any questions. Thank you all for attending. It's been a pleasure. We've had it's been really valuable feedback and questions, and the project team really appreciates you taking the time out of your evening to chat with us and learn more about the Foys Lake Road Interchange project. Have a wonderful Thursday evening and a great weekend. And again, please reach out anytime. We look forward to kicking off the project. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful night. Take care.